Hey guys, and welcome to East Coast Brewing. Tonight we are going to show you part 2 of the Brooklyn Brew House Everyday IPA. Now if you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'm going to put a link down in the description so you guys can watch that. But tonight we're going to be bottling. So we've got our fermented beer right here. Now it was supposed to only go for 2 weeks according to the instructions, but after 2 weeks I was checking it out and it was still aggressively fermenting. There was bubbles everywhere and the airlock was still going, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave it for another week. And so that's what we did, and today is it's 3 weeks and it's not bubbling too much anymore, so I think it's going to be ready to bottle. So another thing, we're going to be using honey to do our priming tonight. So if you're not sure what priming is, once you're ready to bottle, you actually prime your beer with a little bit more sugar, and a lot of times I end up using dextrose corn sugar, and then a little bit of yeast that's left in your beer consume that sugar and produce CO2, therefore carbonating your beer. So this recipe calls for honey. So I thought that was pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to boil up, well I've already boiled it up, I've boiled up a half a cup of water, and we're going to put in 3 tablespoons of honey and mix that together. And then we're going to pour that into our bottling bucket, or bottling pot I guess you could call it, because we're doing a small batch. Also, important thing, everything's been sanitized. I've already pre-sanitized everything, so we're going to get started with that. But, second most important thing, you got to have a beer. Ah, that's good. That's a home brew too. So, alright, so let's get together here with our water. So that's already been pre-boiled, and we're going to do 3 tablespoons of honey mixed in. I actually took the honey and I actually submerged it in like a pot of water, just warm water, to loosen it up as well. It kind of helps. So a little trick there if you have to do this. There we go. And the third one. We'll give that a good stir, make sure it's all dissolved. Probably can't see it from there, but that's alright. Just take my word for it that it's being done. There we go. There we go. We don't need this measuring spoon anymore. Now we're just going to pour that in our bottling pot. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to transfer our beer out of the carboy, or the fermenter here, into our bottling pot, and we're going to try and leave behind all the sediment. So we'll be right back to show you that. Alright, so we are siphoning into our bottling pot here, and we're doing our best to try and keep this just above the level of the trub. The trub is what's left over after the fermenting at the bottom there, you can see. And then we're just going to keep on siphoning this in here, mixing it up with our priming sugar, or priming honey I guess. And then as soon as we've got this all emptied into here, we're going to actually put it into our bottles. So we'll be siphoning it out of the pot into the bottles. And we've got our bottles all sanitized and ready to go. So I'm not going to bore you with showing you how long it takes to empty this. So we'll be right back to show you the bottling process. Okay, now we are filling our bottles. I'm using my bottling wand as opposed to the clip that comes with the kit, just because it makes it a little bit easier. Now a good idea is to have an assistant. You can see my daughter in the background holding the racking cane in the pot so that it doesn't slip all over the place. It's kind of an essential thing. So we're just going to fill up. I've got 8 bottles here and they're 500 milliliters each. So I'm not sure how much we'll get out of them, because it recommends 10 regular sized beer bottles, but I like these 500 milliliter pint bottles. So I'm thinking we'll probably get about 7, but I brought 8 just in case. So we'll keep on filling her up until we're done, and then we're going to cap these, and I'll be back to show you that. But before we go, I just want to say this has been a really pretty cool experience for all grain brewing. Like I said, in my last video, or part one, you know, it's pretty cool that you can actually make beer totally from scratch from all the grains on such a small scale, so you can actually see what it all entails and what it takes, and to see if a recipe that you're trying to do actually works and tastes good, or if you even want to get into all grain brewing. This kind of takes you through the whole process to see what's going on. All right, we'll be back. Okay, so we've got bottles filled. We were able to only get 6 bottles out of that, but they're 500 milliliters, so 6 pints. Now you might be thinking, well, you know what, that's a lot of work what you've gone through if you look at part 1 and now part 2, just to get 6 pints of beer. But honestly, this is, I mean, I've got bigger batches of beer going. I've got some all grain stuff going. I got some extract stuff going, and they're all, you know, the 5-gallon type batches. This is really just for experimental, to see what all grain brewing is all about. And, you know, and like I said, to try this recipe, because I think Brooklyn Brew House actually has a single hop IPA in a 5-gallon batch that you can buy from them. So, I mean, if this turns out, maybe I'll try that and do it the all grain brewing at a larger scale. So once we got these filled, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our caps on. Now, a little trick that I like to use, you know, you'll see some brewers like this, some don't. But what I do with these PET plastic bottles is I give them a squeeze until the beer is right at the top there, and then I cap it. And that way, there's no oxygen left in the beer. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Doesn't take long with 6 of them. I'll give these a little bit of more of a tighten once I'm done here. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to let these guys bottle condition and carbonate for, I'm thinking 3 to 4 weeks, because, you know, I want to make sure these are turning out. So, alright. Then we'll be back for part 3, which will be our taste test to see how this turned out. Oops, I forgot to squeeze that one. There we go. So, as always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Hey, especially with these new YouTube rules, subscriptions, you need those subscriptions if you want to monetize your videos. Of course, I do this because I love brewing. I love showing people how to brew, and, you know, just sharing in the brewing community. So, you know what? If you subscribe, great. If you don't, no problem. But, as always, thanks again, and cheers. Oh, that's good. We'll see you for part 3.